Hi guys, welcome to the Two Black, Two Blonde podcast. This is a podcast that we created to be able to speak about issues around people of African descent. We're going to be talking about issues like challenges that we face, opportunities, and we're going to pretty much, go the whole 9 yards on topics that affect people of our race. I wouldn't be doing this alone. I'll be doing this with two wonderful co-hosts. I've got my friend Femi, which I know way back from my college days, and I've also got a charismatic, beautiful lady called Ebun that would also help us, co-host this podcast. So for the next 15 episodes or so, for the first season, we're going to be touching a lot of topics. And over the course of the podcast, we're going to bring in expert technocrats who can help us dissect certain topics that we feel are very relevant to us. And, it could help us, like they say, unlearn, relearn, and learn. So pretty much the podcast, like I said, is a podcast that will be focusing on people of African descent or people of African heritage of some sort. And we thought about a topic that for the first podcast that we want to do. And when I had this discussion with my friend, we were like, let's come up with something that resonates with the whole goal of this podcast. And he brought up a fantastic topic that I think, and he said we should talk about Black people and we should talk about the Black experience in the 21st century. And when he told me about that, I knew that the topic is really broad and it's going to be something that we cannot cover in one episode, but probably would have to have other episodes where we would talk about different aspects of it. So pretty much that's it, And so when I think about this topic, I pretty much used to have these conversations in my head where I think about Africa and people of African descent. So if you look at Africa, you look at America, you look at the Caribbeans, you look at South America, where we have people of African descent.
Yeah.
There are certain realities that are peculiar to every single part of this group or this race. And what do I mean by that? So I mean, if you look at the level of education, you look at the level of exposure, you look at wealth, you look at and innovations and all of that as a race, something seems to stick out in all of these regions, right? And for me, that's very, very disturbing because a lot of it are on the negative side of things. So if you look at the poverty line across Africa, you're just looking at the bottom half of Africa and not just the top part where you have Algeria, Morocco. I'm pretty much talking about people of African descent. And you look at the bottom half of Africa, you look at the Caribbeans, you look at South America where we have Brazil, you look at African Americans, even in America. There's a lot of issues that we are facing as a people, and I would just that's pretty much the preamble to what we are going to be discussing today. And I would like Femi or Ebun to jump in as to what they think about, this
Yeah,
topic.
I pretty much agree with you. When you look at Africa, right? So sometimes we think it's just in Africa where lack of education, lack of basic amenities and things like that. But then you go to even the Western countries and you see that people of Black descent are facing the same problems, right? When you look at poverty in America, people of Black descent the numbers are high, right? So it's the same thing. Like it's not just in Africa, like you said.
Yeah.
If you go to Caribbean countries too, it's the same thing. Like we are still a developing nation, and even the Black people in developed countries are still facing the same problem: poor education, lack of basic amenities. I mean, I was surprised when I came here. There are neighborhoods I've been to in Cleveland, for example, and the roads were terrible in the Black community, right? Lots of abandoned buildings and things like that. So it's basically like it's not just in Africa. It happens even in the Western countries, right? We see these things happen everywhere. Like people of Black descent, you go to in Europe, it's the same thing, right? You go to the Black communities and it's the same issues everywhere. We don't have access to the same level of education. We don't have access to healthcare and things like that. So it was surprising to see when you travel a lot, you get to see these things happening, even in Western countries, not just in Africa. And the issue is why it's been happening for so long. You understand? It's been happening for so long, for decades, for years, for centuries. Like it's just been happening. Like why is it that people of black descent, right, are like always the underserved? Let me put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask me honestly, for the most part, when you place a black man, especially an African, in a place that has not just potential, like a place that has a lot of um, a lot of benefits, a place that allows them to grow, they
Mm,
would always thrive there.
mhm,
You can see that like a lot when, I mean, coming here as an immigrant, you see that a lot. So, Nigerians, Africans generally are thriving. Black people would thrive where privilege is. So, I
mm,
feel like when you present them with privilege, it would, they're not lazy as some people would, think that they are, or some people would think that black people are lazy, but I think that I don't think that that's true. I just think that it's just lack of privilege, because if you present privilege to them, they would do very well in whatever it is that you place them into, or
mhm,
what, I mean, you've seen these we've seen like road networks that were built by the forefathers, like
mm,
I'm just saying, like pretty, like black people are not lazy as long as you present them with privilege. So the whole question of why this whole thing is happening, I feel like it's just because, like in Africa, there's so much potential in a lot of people from back home. And it's more because these countries are underdeveloped and do not present them with, like, areas to grow or areas to even train or even advance whatever knowledge that it is that they have. So it's more like they don't have an avenue to develop the skills that they have, pretty
Okay.
much.
true.
Okay, I agree with you in some way, but let me play the devil's advocate here because for me, I feel like why I agree with you that a lot of Africans, when they come here, they really do well from themselves. They become doctors, lawyers, and
Mm-hmm.
all of
Mhm,
that. But they are playing in the same space with the African Americans. And a lot of them, no, I'm not trying to, I'm just playing the devil's advocate. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of African Americans seem not to be able to tap into what Africans are tapping into. So take for instance, they have access to free education, they have
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
access to middle school. In fact, you can have a career as a black American without paying a single dime up to your PhD level. You can join the military and they will sponsor you and you get paid. And but a lot of them don't seem to tap into that. So is it really the space where they are is it really the country or the their access to certain level of benefits that is the problem, or it's just the way they are as a people? Because
Honestly,
yeah.
I think I've had this conversation before, right?
Hmm.
I was saying it the way you have just said it.
Yeah,
But the thing is that the education is free up until high school, right?
correct.
Now, colleges, you do have to pay tuition. The only exception is when you get funding, like scholarships.
Yeah,
Scholarships are not too open to everybody. You have to like do some extra work to get scholarships,
yeah,
and they're very limited.
yeah,
Those people they don't want to go the extra mile to have to pay for, like, some people still have to pay student loan for the rest of their adult life. That
correct.
does not make sense if they might as well, if they can as well just learn a skill. And then, I see a lot of, especially here in New York, like people want to work at construction sites and they get paid well.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, for the most part, it's, I don't think it's them neglecting the privilege that they have. Is just
Mhm.
not wanting to go into debt because I want to go to school and
Yeah.
then further my education or whatever. A lot of them do try, but I mean, I know that they're here and then they're like they have access to it, but it's more like just not wanting to be in debt to go to school.
But then I raised the question that there's the option of going through the military. There's the option of learning
yeah,
a
I
skill
agree with you,
and all
but
of that.
let's even look at it this way. What role do you think things like segregation has to play in this? So I'm looking at segregation happened just a few decades ago, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
30, 40 years ago. There was no equal access to these things, right? Do you think that some of these people, their mind has been conditioned to feel like I cannot access certain things.
I agree. Yes, it's
So
very.
so let's look at what
Yeah.
role have, if we look at the historical of things that have been happening, right?
Yeah.
The historical facts and all that. Things like segregation, do you think they have an effect to play in how
Def-
their minds are conditioned right now?
yes, definitely. I know because slavery was what for 300-400 years,
Mhm.
and after slavery was the segregation stuff, the Jim Crow laws
Yeah.
that prevented a lot of black people from
Mhm.
accessing a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And even after that, with the civil rights movement in the 60s for Martin Luther King to and all of, a lot of black people face a lot of issues, yeah, and challenges. Even to this day, even for me as a person, I've had
Mhm.
personal experience, yeah, of things that I would presume are some form of racial profiling,
Yeah.
and or stereotypes that they have with of people that are of that have a lot of melanin, but nevertheless, I feel like black Americans, now I'm speaking of African Americans,
Mhm.
still can do something for themselves
Mhm.
in some way, and not just rely on food stamps and just you know and end up selling drugs and
Mhm.
ending up in jail and all of that, because I feel like there are opportunities that they can tap into. It may not necessarily make them so successful, but they could
Mhm.
have a decent life
Mm-hmm.
and have start a family and live a decent life rather than just, I mean, like I told you, I looked at some of the statistics, and 18% of black Americans live below the poverty line in a
Mhm.
country that is probably, arguably, one of the top 10 economies in the world.
Mhm.
And I feel like if you cannot thrive here, it means that something fundamental is wrong.
Mhm.
So coming back to your question, I know that racism and segregation and all that plays a role.
Mhm.
However, I feel like you can still make something for your life in America.
Sure. I mean,
Mm.
sure, you can still make something for your life.
Mm.
But again, I want to um look at this scenario, right?
Mhm.
You are affected by your community, right? A lot of these people in their community, they have a lot of people who were not educated. They were just maybe industry workers and farmers and all of that. They don't know how to access these opportunities, because all they have known is their parents, all their grandparents knew was segregation, lack of education, no equal rights and things like that, and they are just conditioned within that frame, that this is
Frame.
what we know. They
Yeah.
don't even know how to access some of these opportunities, right? I know that, yes, we live in a world now where there's technology, you can access to information, things are beginning to change,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of them did not have access to even do research. How can I get out of this community? How can I make something for myself? So I'm looking at a situation where, yes, these things are available now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, people are beginning to take advantage of, oh, education is free, I should go get educated and things like that. But before now, the society where they grew up, their community, that's all they knew, right?
Correct.
That's like, you grow up seeing your parents do certain things in certain
Mm-hmm.
way, and you just want to do the same thing. You don't know how to access opportunities to make yourself better.
Yeah, I get you. But then who is to blame for, because at the end of the day, I understand what you're saying, but then how do they get out of that? How
Hmm.
do are they just gonna stay like that and say, hey, this is what it is, we're just gonna
I
leave?
mean,
Hmm.
it's a mindset thing, to be
Yeah.
honest. If
Yeah.
that's how their forefathers and their fathers grew up and that's the knowledge that they transferred to them, then it would take a lot for them to break out of whatever mindset it is that they have. So it's
Hmm.
more of a mindset thing, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
because I've seen people who, not to, talk down on anybody who's always fighting to get food stamps and cash or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, like, you can work. You don't have any disabilities. So what is it that you're. That's why I'm just saying it's a mindset thing. As long as they also think that these public benefits are like they're right, they don't necessarily have to put in so much work.
Work,
Hmm.
So
yeah.
yeah, it's more like a mindset thing, because you try to ask, okay, why are you not working? You don't have any disability, and they don't really have any answers.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
just feel like, okay, it's there, I could use it, so what's the point? Like, I don't necessarily have to work. And then I've heard like the unemployment benefits are there for them to get. Like, some of them get so much per week more than people who even actually work.
Work,
So when
yeah,
they
I
put all
agree.
these things into consideration, they're like, okay, there's no point. And some of them I've heard also that they're trying to benefit off of it because their forefathers had worked so much
Slavery
for
and
what
all of
America
that.
is today. So
Yeah.
what they want to do is just sit back and, enjoy whatever benefits they can get off of the
But
system.
usually, I feel like the benefits are just pretty much just to get by, and then the next month you're back
Exactly.
again.
That's why
and
it's
all
a
of that.
mindset thing that they
Yeah.
don't really want too much. They just want enough to be okay.
Okay.
Unlike us, where we dream to
want
have
more.
many things.
Mm-hmm.
We dream to want to be owners of conglomerates or whatever.
Whatever,
We
yeah.
want a lot of things there's like a slight difference in
Okay.
us. So yeah.
Okay. So for me, I feel like we've hammered a lot on African Americans. And so I want to take the conversation back to say Africa and us in Africa. Why do you think our situation is what it is now? Because if you look at Africa, like I said, I checked some of the statistics, and it says that about 43% of Africans are living below the World Bank, or is it the World Health Organization's standard of $3 a day. And that is about 43% is roughly about 450 million Africans. For Nigeria, it's a different ball game because, first of all, the statistics says 130 million people. I'm laughing, but I know it's not funny because 130 million people cannot afford $2 to $3 a day.
That's
to
what,
feed.
130 million.
And one statistics that is really alarming for me is 70 million Nigerians. I'm speaking just in, I don't know what is it, and it's going to be larger, cannot read or write. And my problem is that those 70 million are going to multiply. And by 2050, they say we're going to be like 350 million or 400. So I just feel like with the statistics I'm hearing and the current realities of people in Africa, it's going to be a very, very difficult situation over the years because it's worse now and it's only going to get worse over. And for me, I would pose this question to you guys. What do you think has to change in Africa for us to have for our future generations to have a better life? What do you need? I know there's the leadership, there's corruption and all of that, but I feel like we all know that. But what needs to change?
What do we need to do?
To be able to turn the corner. Is it turn the corner that they say?
A lot of times when you're having conversations about Nigeria, people always, try and you hear them almost want to cuss out, our Lord Lugard or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they feel like, whatever joining they did was too early, right? I'm not sure when we had free education in Nigeria, if it was after the amalgamation or before. But if you're saying question of, because you said people are not educated, right? The large number of people that are not educated, the numbers are increasing every day.
Yeah.
Now, if you're saying what do we do, right? Back in the days, we had parents or grandparents who could speak good English. They didn't necessarily have to pay for school. So if you're saying that, it would just be like, let's go back to what they had before, like access to free education, access to, like, there were things that we had back in Nigeria that we don't have anymore because of lack of maintenance, to be honest, and because of the governments that we have, that are ruling now. So it's pretty much, sometimes it's a matter of introducing some laws and policies and enforcing it, and it's also a matter of going back to the days when some things were accessible to people. To be honest, the whole poverty thing, people didn't have to pay for school. They were poor and they could speak good English. So I just would say it's half and half. Like, go back to what used to be practiced before, like the government officials prioritizing, the citizens there, but like where you are just providing things like fundamental human rights, like very basic things to people, like so that they can have access to it. I don't think that there are people who do not want to learn, to be honest. I feel like there are a lot of people who want to learn, but just providing things that should be free, like making them free for people. There are many people that cannot afford school fees in Nigeria.
Yeah,
totally agree. You talked about maintenance culture, and that's
Yeah.
something I really want to talk about. Like, our maintenance culture is terrible, right? I saw pictures of the high school I went to in Nigeria. It's a federal government college, right? and it
What
was
school
in
was that?
Federal Government College, Jos.
Just
Yeah.
okay.
And it used to be a very good school, right? When I was there, it was a good school and all of that. But I saw pictures, and there were no seats in the classroom
Yeah.
in a
Everything is
federal government
deteriorating.
college, right? So our education is depreciating,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if the government is not even paying attention to colleges, government is not paying attention to universities. We went to Ahmadu Bello University. We saw the state where, I mean, the hostels are in a terrible state,
Yeah.
right? Government, like, the learning condition is not even conducive, right? And then people cannot even afford the education. Like, government do not, like, it's just in a very terrible state. That tells you that government don't even care about the education in the first place.
Yeah.
The government don't care about people getting educated. They don't care about, our hospitals are in a terrible state. So when you talk about maintenance culture, is really, really crazy. Like, our
Yeah.
maintenance culture is terrible.
Okay, I agree with all you guys are saying, but I want to try to ask again, because I know we have the different problems that we have. We know the problems, but how do we get out of this? How leaders, the guys that they're not just gonna go away.
Mhm.
What do we need to do? Is this that there has to be some form of revolution? There has to be some form
You've
of
already said it.
like,
Like that's
how do-
because like if
like
you're
how do we change the
Mm.
because now we've talked about the poor education, we've talked
Yeah.
about low maintenance culture, the healthcare system isn't good and all of that. How do we change it? Because we can't just imagine in 2050 we'll have 300 to 400 million
People.
Nigerians. I'm just even speaking, I'm not even talking about Africa,
Yeah.
and those people would have to be fed. They will have to have access to healthcare and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
How would that work with the current state? Because I can
The
guarantee
facilities
that
we
if
have
we
now are
the
already
same,
stretched.
exactly, if we have the same leadership that we have currently leading us at that time in 2050, I can guarantee you there's going to be a world war. Or
Honestly.
there's going to be a war or something, because it's not going to
No,
work. I don't think-
Nigerians already are their own government. You have to provide your own light, your own water, your own food. It's like you're providing everything.
everything.
So when you're saying what should we do, at this point, there's nothing they can do, to be honest, because
But-
the change has to start from the leadership, whether we even like it or not, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Because they're already fighting so much to have like basic things for themselves, providing the things that should be provided by the government. They're already providing it for themselves. I don't think that there's anything that would happen except everybody comes out to. You see the revolution that you talked about?
Yeah.
That's what happened with the French, the Americans. There was a revolution.
Revolution,
So
yes, and that
that's the
changed
only thing that could
everything.
change things. So
Yes,
that's what I
yes.
think, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you too, because I feel like I've thought about this several times, that I most likely would get old and die, and I wouldn't really see my continent or Nigeria ever changing, which is really sad, because when I look at the trajectory of my country, I'm speaking in terms of Nigeria, and it's most likely the reality of so many African countries too as well. The prospect of me seeing a better country is next to nothing as of now. And I've always thought about it, that is what can be the spark that can change everything. Like you talked about the
be honest.
revolution, in America. You talk about the French Revolution, and those events changed the course of the country forever, and regions, forever. And I'm thinking that right now, that is the only option for African countries right now,
Yeah.
because nothing seems to be changing.
Even
Everything
if you say
seems to
like
be
a
getting
mindset
worse.
overhaul, we cannot change people's mindset.
True.
You see that maintenance culture, right?
Yeah.
It is more, it's going to lean more towards greed if you look at it very well.
Yeah.
Now, I schooled in Benin Republic for my first degree.
Yeah.
Those people have light, and when they will not have light, it's not going to last a full day. They will bring back the light. Nigeria can provide light, but guess what? Some people have to bring in generators to the country, and people have to buy it. People have to
Exactly.
buy gas, by
That's
fire, by thunder.
business for
Yeah.
people.
Especially, so it's like people have to sell their own businesses, and if Nigeria works, or if these African countries work, a lot of people see it as they're going to lose their source of income. So it's also a mindset thing, but that one, I don't think we can touch people's mindsets, to be
Yeah.
honest.
But that, to me, that's where education comes
Yeah.
in. Because for me, all the parameters
You think it's just
I've
like
looked-
education?
Yeah, because the education
It starts
shapes
with-
it starts
It
with
starts with
because at the end of the day, to change that mindset means that you have to educate whoever you're the intended recipient of that or reorientation that you want to, So I feel like there has to be some level of, it doesn't have to be a formal education that you have to be in a university or in college and all, but to reorientate them and change their mindset and say, hey, you have people that are leaders and these people are accountable to you. And if they don't do what they need to do, you have to step up and ask for a change, or you reappoint someone who is going to do what you need to do.
There's a country in Africa where the president, his son is the vice president.
Wow.
Yeah,
What
I
country
think
is
that's
that?
probably Equatorial Guinea, I think.
Oh.
The son is the vice president. And then they have a very small population, not a lot of people, but I think about 3 million or so.
Oh.
And you look at a country like that, they have natural resources, not a lot of people, but a high percentage of the population are still living below the poverty line.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So it's the same in every country. Like, you keep wondering, why is it the same in Nigeria? Why is it the same in Equatorial Guinea? Why is it the same in Gambia? Gambia had Yaya Jammeh one time.
We have Museveni, the guy in Uganda. He's been there for 40 years. For Biya.
So
90 years.
It's the same thing. It's the same in every country. So looking at, we're talking about the global Black experience, looking at all these countries. Why do you think it's the same? Like, all these countries are just run the same way, same corruption, no development. Like, things are just going down the drain instead of getting better.
But for me, I feel like it's down to leadership. It's down to leadership, because one thing I've realized here in America that is I love a lot in terms of leadership is whoever, look at the leadership. Right now we have Trump, right? There was Obama, there was, what's Biden and all. Irrespective of whoever is in power, the interest of the Americans is the top priority. Now, I'm not saying that there's no corruption or there's no lobbying that happens in Congress. There is. But the majority of what policies they set is for American citizens. It's for their... But in Africa, African countries and other places where we have people of Africans like Jamaica, like Haiti. Haiti is a perfect example. You have two countries that are sitting on an island. And one side is prosperous, doing so well, Dominican Republic. The other side doesn't even have a government. There's chaos everywhere, and bandits and all of that. So what is the difference? For me, it boils down to leadership. A lot of Africans think about themselves and their cronies. And that is pretty much what we've seen across the majority of African countries. But if you look at the top of Africa, like I said, where you have Morocco, you have Algeria, you have Egypt, you have Libya at some point when there was Gaddafi, you will see that the leadership style is a bit different from us, even though we're on the same continent and all of that. And it poses the question again, is it that we Africans, is just in our DNA that we just want to be...
it's more like a Black people thing. Like, you already said it. I think we will take us back to the slave trade era where so that time Africans didn't really have a say over whatever happened to them. I feel like that's the result of what we're seeing now. So okay, I was treated badly, whatever. The forefathers were treated badly, and they didn't really have they couldn't really gather anything for themselves. They didn't have a say. So now it's like that mindset was translated to everybody now. So it's like a generational thing where everybody thinks that, oh, I must fight for myself. It's just me, myself, and I. Like, I just want to gather everything for myself and myself. Do you get? I feel like it's just not having access to things before, like the forefathers, and then now whatever position that any African sees themselves in, they want to fight for their own good first. I think that's the mindset.
They don't care about
exactly.
But which is really sad, because at the end of the day, there's no way you can build a nation based on that. There's no way where someone takes the amount that is to build a community and take it to
because even if you're talking about education, these people are educated. Have you heard of the military guy that the whole but the whole siphoning of money or whatever, I think that they had to call out
Was it in
the
Nigeria?
yeah, it's somebody general or something.
Something.
But yeah, like it's not. I don't think it has anything to do with education. These people were supplying those generators or whatever. These are educated people as well, so
Yeah.
they know these people have been to advanced countries like
And
here,
they've seen how
and they see how
things
it
work.
works. So
Yeah.
they don't care
And they
for that.
go back
don't-
and don't replicate
Exactly.
Our leaders go to they travel for medication. They travel to, like you can't even build a hospital in your country where you can trust the medical system, right? In your own country, our leaders travel for healthcare. They travel for basic things.
Yeah, you can see
They
that when
send
even the
their
Anthony
they
Joshua
send
thing
their
happened.
children to the West
look
and
at
all
the
of that.
Anthony Joshua stuff,
Yeah.
and all of that.
And even Chimamanda's kid who
case
died.
too, again.
Like, it's just pathetic.
Yeah, it is. And it projects the country in a very bad light because what those two events have done is most likely from the Chimamanda side, it looks like our healthcare system is
True.
dead.
Uh-huh.
And now I think they're filing a lawsuit and all of that. Then from Anthony Joshua, the guy didn't have a driver's license. There was a truck parked on the road where normally in the same environment you should have the designated place for trucks. I mean, when you travel across America, you see that there are places where
truck
stops.
and if you even want to nap, you take a nap.
Yeah.
You can. It's designed that way, but that truck was parked on the road and ran through it. So a lot of issues that are there that we really need to solve.
And honestly, I feel like they can be solved. The problem is they have to introduce there's a lot of complacency that happens back home, like especially African countries. Complacencies are too much. Like, there are policies that can be introduced. Now the problem is enforcing these policies to for people to follow through. Now you would go register your vehicle, right? Like, so they are checking it out for roadworthiness. You don't necessarily have to do too much. You can pay somebody off, whoever officer you meet there. Even if your vehicle does not meet the distance, you can pay them off and they let you go and give you whatever roadworthiness paper you need. So it's like corruption has eaten deep, and then lack of enforcement of policies. If these people have people that actually they answer to, and these people who they answer to cannot be bribed with money, a lot of things will work.
Yeah, I know. Corruption is a big issue.
So it's not just, from what you've said, it's not just our leaders.
It's not just the leaders.
Also.
It's the normal person is corrupt. They just want everything.
It's the people also, and then we allow the leaders, right? So this, I hear things like, oh, this the president is from my place, the president is my tribe, and then I'm just going to support, even if the president is
or doesn't know you.
So you say the president is from my place, so I'm going to support him because he's from my place, even though he's not he's not acting right, but you still support him because he's from my place. Or as long as my brother is there, as long as I'm benefiting from the government, I don't care about the people.
Everybody else,
And I see it here, even in the Black community here, right? People are trying to, I just want to make it out of the hood, take my family, and that's it. Like, I don't care about the community,
or maybe building a business.
I don't want to make the community better. I just want to take my people out of this community. So it's something that I know we're talking about. There's no sense of community. There's no sense of... So we don't have leaders with vision, right? It's about me, my family. We don't have leaders that are thinking, or how do I make the country better for the next generation to come? It's about me, my family, the people around me. I just want, things like that.
Yeah,
I keep wondering.
I think that point, I agree with you a lot, because if you look at other races, if you look at the Chinese, if you look at Indians and all of that, you see that when they come here, you see that almost all the major cities, there has a Chinatown. There has a community of Asians that help themselves. You see Indians, they help themselves, especially for immigration stuff, H1B, or they can stay together and help themselves, and you settle down and everything. But for Black people, we meet once in a while or hang out or something like this. But that's where it ends. There's no form of what are you doing? What do you want to do? Do you have what is your do you have any expertise and where I can come in to help you? We don't have that.
Yeah.
You know, we just have, we meet for a game, watch soccer, watch something. There's nothing really concrete, you know. And
It's just
even,
like the Jewish community.
yes, the Jewish community
They
too
have
as
their
well.
own school. They have their
police,
own
in
like.
fact. They have their own police.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, like
you know,
they have a very, very strong community.
Yeah.
Like they have their own school, their own police, they have their own hospitals, you know.
hospitals and all of
Yeah,
that. But for us, that's lacking, and it's not just for Africans, Black African Americans, and all of
Yeah.
that. We meet, hello, hi, we do some stuff
Yeah.
together, and that's where
That's
it
it,
ends.
yeah.
There's no form of
We meet to party.
career development.
Yes,
we need to party.
and that
We just
even
party and
it's
that's
more
it.
because of the self-centeredness. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to tell you where I'm working at, or I'm not trying to help you come into where I'm working at because I don't want you to take food out of my
Yes,
mouth.
that's the
So it's
mindset
just
that they
exactly
have.
like
Yeah.
it is more of like the self-centeredness. And when you now find people that you think, okay, let us begin to come together and do stuff. Now then trust now
becomes an issue.
Yes,
Money
people
becomes an issue.
exactly.
and
Like
stuff
trust
like
is an
that.
issue. Like, okay, you're not sure who to like. We're all the same. Let's even say as Nigerians, we're all from the same place. Why can't we trust ourselves? It's because we know that we are very self-centered. That's why.
Yeah.
Like it's just a matter of just people are just self-centered. It's not a thing that we cannot come together to achieve. It's just
Yes.
I just want to I don't want help from anybody else. I'm good by myself and I'm not trying to help anybody else. I just want to be by myself.
So,
Which I don't think is right is the right way to live, to be honest.
But do you guys think what do you think of colonialism and the role it played to how Africa is today?
For me, I feel like colonialism is still how do I put it? Colonialism is currently in the form of neo-colonialism now. It's still there. There's no way. And it's there in the form of different aspects. So I'll give you an instance. A lot of companies in Africa are owned by companies from the West.
Yeah.
And they control what you make. And based on what you make determines the value of things like your currency and the well-being of the people, you know. There's a lot of proxies that are from the West that are pretty much controlling the African economy. And for me, that's another form of slavery. It's not slavery, but it's not because your destiny is not in your hands. But the beauty about it is that I see a lot of people, a lot of countries that are trying to break out. If you look at some of the Francophone countries, you look at Mali, you look at
Burkina Faso.
they are trying to say enough is enough, and we are trying to break out from. I mean, I read somewhere where France prints the currencies of some of these Francophone countries, and also determine certain things that affect the economy. For instance, I heard a story of uranium in Niger, and it was being bought for a certain amount that was next to nothing. I think it was, I don't know if it's an ounce or whatever, it was like $200 for an ounce, and France was buying it for like $10 or some form of ridiculous amount of money, you know. So neocolonialism is still there,
very
you know,
much
it's
there.
just in a different form, you know. But I'm happy that there's this. I know a lot of people who say coup d'etat is not this thing, democracy is the way and all of that. But people have tried democracy. What has happened in those Francophone countries is that they've tried democracy and nothing has worked.
True.
So we might as well just have a military coup, take over, and let's run this thing and see if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
At least let's even try something else, you know.
Military though? Is it the Nigerian military or
No, he was talking about the what do I think about colonialism currently?
Yeah, but if you say we might as well just have a military coup like they used to have back in the day, I don't see that happening.
Yes, I don't encourage that because I want to.
I mean, if that's a way, fine. I'm just saying, like, the quality of the military, the strength of the military that we have in our country that we come from now is not as it was before.
No,
before the military could command things to happen.
Yes.
But now it's just
it's
like
not.
the regular.
I feel like there's a lot of corruption in the military.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people are benefiting from what is happening in the northern part and some parts of the west and all of that, because at the end of the day, war is business. Chaos is business. Even around the world, chaos is all those aids that it means that someone is going to get paid to supply those aids. Someone is going to be paid to provide helicopters, to provide ammunitions and all of that. So it's business and all of that. But to whose detriment? It's the people. So
Yeah.
coming back to what Femi was saying, I was saying if a lot of francophone countries currently are trying to take back their country from people like from the West, like
Yeah.
the Mali, Burkina
Yeah.
Faso, and all of that. And for me, I'm not really a fan of coups, but I've seen, like I said, these people have tried democracy and it's not working.
It's not working for them.
And to me, democracy doesn't necessarily mean, for a country to have democracy doesn't necessarily mean that democracy works for them. I mean, in Nigeria, we've had democracy since when? 1960. There've been some coup in 1999. 1999, it's even worse now. We're in a worse state than before,
Yeah.
So for me, look at China. It's a communist state. Look at Russia, communist. But somehow China is the second largest economy and most likely going to overtake the US in the next 10 years. But it's communism that they have there, And so for me, the system of government doesn't really matter, but the leadership does.
As long as you have a leader with a vision, right?
Yeah.
If you have a leader with a vision, take example of countries like Singapore, the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
You have leaders with vision. They have a plan to lift the people out of poverty, and that's what we're talking about. It's not just about you, your family. You're doing it for the next generation. Right? Look at Singapore today. Look at countries like Malaysia and all of that. They just had a vision, they had a plan. And it was not just about them. It was about creating wealth for the people. Right? And that's what we don't see in Africa. Like, it's about me. It's about me, my family, my children. I just want to create wealth for myself. I'm not thinking about the generations to come. So our leaders are not thinking about,
they're not futuristic.
What's 50 years going to look like? What's 100 years going to look like in this country? Can I lift the people out of poverty? Tackle one sector, if it's education, if it's health, if it's power. You go to Nigeria today, we still don't have 24-hour power supply. We don't have running water.
We don't have 10 hours
We don't have running water, right? Education, there's no sector that is actually working. And it's not just in Nigeria.
Yes.
It's the entire Africa.
Yeah.
Right.
Some countries are way better. I mean, if you look at South Africa, in terms of, now from the good side of South Africa, they have stable power supply, although they have the issues of
xenophobia.
They have the issues of violence. Crime is a big thing in South Africa. And you have the epidemic of HIV and all of that, but they're still doing something for themselves.
Somebody pointed out one time that it's because white people are still there. That's why. I don't know if that was a joke, but I don't know.
Yeah. But to me, I feel like that also played a factor as to what South Africa. I mean, they had their independence in 1994. Apartheid ended in 1994. So I feel like the white people have been there for a long time, and they were able to fix a lot of stuff.
But that brings me to this point, because now we're saying, at what point do we take responsibility for ourselves, right? Because now we're saying South Africa is better because there were lots of white people and all. At what point do we? Because it keeps going. Like, it just keeps going. Like, we're just living that way, and the black people are just used to it. At what point do we take responsibility and say, look, our leaders they're not doing us a service, they're doing us a disservice. Right? Because our leaders don't even understand that they are elected to serve. No, right? They don't understand that they're elected to serve the people. You don't understand that if you become the president of Nigeria, for example, you are supposed to work in the interest of every Nigerian. Right? So at what point do we start holding them accountable? Because we can talk about these things, but if things really need to change, then we need to start holding these people accountable.
Yeah, but then how do you hold people that are in power who have the resources to guard themselves?
I know, like people who have saved up money for their generations to come.
Exactly.
Like I recently, I think I ran into the story of the Yaradua mother. That woman is always recognized every time there has to be an election in Nigeria. These people have been in power since before my parents got married. Like it's like there's just they keep they're okay with the whole thing because their family is made and set. That's just it. Exactly. So as far as what we could do, I'm not entirely sure. Like it's just a overhaul of everything. The
Yeah.
system.
Yes, the
I don't think it's a
system.
system of government, but it's just the leaders first. To be honest, the
Yeah.
leaders first. When some things start to come into play, like okay, I know that when I'm driving, there's a speed limit. But that's when people's minds start to be conditioned.
Sure.
Or when I go to this organization, I'm not going to have a way of bribing anybody. I have to go through due process to go to have things done. Then that's when mindset starts to shift of like citizens. To be
Yeah.
honest, it's just starting from the top down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So corruption is everywhere. I agree
Yeah.
with you. I remember in Abuja, so they started this the train service from Abuja to Kaduna, and then one time they realized that the train workers were buying all the tickets and then they resell
them.
they resell them.
That's crazy.
So you can imagine that's the people, right?
Yeah.
So we allow these things first. We also do it. We participate in the
Yeah,
corruption.
and that's because it's easy.
Mhm.
Like you see, like there are many things that you see how here if you have to get like a plumber or whatever, or just simple things that we would find simple in Nigeria.
Yeah.
There are due process that you follow here. There are things that they don't allow here.
Yes.
It's just
I mean,
because
just to become a barber, you have to go through a
Exactly.
training for
You could just-
several months.
you could
before
sit
you
anywhere
can
in
cut
Nigeria and
someone's
be a barber.
Yeah.
Yes, and just
It's
you-
just the,
you can
the
learn on the job.
convenience that it, like the whole corruption system comes with convenience. So
Yes.
you see that even obviously they will enable it.
Yeah.
You heard when people say, "Oh, it's you enjoy your stay in Nigeria more."
Yeah,
That's because
you
Of
can
the-
pay somebody to wash
can-
your leg
yeah.
if you want.
You can bribe your way in the
you
bank
can bribe
and
your
they'll-
way
Yeah.
to
a manager will call you and ask,
Exactly.
help you out and
yeah.
all of that.
That's why people say, "Oh, you always
Here, that
enjoy
does
when you're
not-
staying in Nigeria." That's
Yeah.
because you can go get away with the system, and things like that, and that's
Yeah.
why everybody wants to. Oh, for example, I saw a video of one of the big artists in Nigeria, one of the big Afrobeat artists, and
Yeah.
he was driving on a one way, right? I mean, anything could happen. You could have an
Exactly.
accident. You could hit somebody. Like, you shouldn't be doing that.
And I think most likely, I don't know the video, but I would think that there most likely will be a truck of police at the back.
There was a police, like he had a
Yes.
police escort.
Escort, yeah.
The
Which
police
is
escort
crazy.
was leading the one-way drive. So I mean, you can't do that here.
I mean, there's that silly saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You
The
can't.
silly
You can't.
saying of money stops nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah. You can't run, and that's what other people see, and they say, "Oh, if I have money, then
yeah.
I can get
more
away
like
with
money
stuff.
enables
I can,
anyhowness.
Yeah.
to
So
be
the
honest.
next person who wants to be a leader
Mhm.
is not trying to be a leader to serve the people. It's trying to
Yeah.
be a leader so that I can get money and do things like this too.
Yes, exactly.
And then it's a circle. We
Yeah.
keep recycling the same thing, going over and
Over
over
and
and
over
over again.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about something. I know you mentioned when Eben was like, she's not really sure how we're going to change things. But for me, I feel like, so there's this guy, I don't know if you guys know Dele Faro to me, that he's a publisher.
Yeah.
He said that he thinks that a revolution
yeah.
is the way to go.
Mm.
But the only thing I disagree
That's
with him,
almost going to break the country into.
but the only thing I disagree
No, we
with
have
him
to break the
is
culture
that
and rebuild. Actually,
No, I mean like separate the different people that are already fighting and agitating for
For
for the
change.
country
And
for the country
for
to be
broken
into different parts.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that broken into different parts. I don't want,
Exactly.
But in terms of the revolution, the only thing I disagree with him is the fact he said it's going to be a peaceful revolution. And in history, I've checked, there's no
there's no
revolution
peaceful revolution.
that was significant that happened that was peaceful.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to give you power for free and for you to change change the system that their forefathers has built for themselves
Yeah,
to
exactly.
feed off. So how we're going to do that, have that revolution is different. No, Nigeria is not a place where people, like the Arab Spring, where there was, not really people. Nigerians are not really people. I feel like they're not people that would want to die for someone else to have a better life
Yeah.
30, 40 years from now. I don't think we have that spirit of the Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X that, put their lives on the line to make sure that we as black Americans and black people, are enjoying,
Yeah.
so
So that's the thing about vision. You see, people like Martin Luther King, he was doing it for the people. He had a vision. He's like, this is what I want everybody to.
Yeah.
It's not about me. It's not about my family. It's
and
about
in fact,
the people.
and in fact, he even gave some form of insinuations that he knows that he may not live long because of what he's doing and all of that, So yeah.
I mean, it's you see these things, and it's not just like we said in Africa. It happens in the Caribbean countries. It's the same
It's
thing,
the same thing.
right? Jamaica and
They face the
the
same
same
challenges,
challenges.
and all of that. And in Brazil too, a lot of so statistics again. In Brazil, the poverty, the level of poverty in terms of the percentage is about 18%. But
Mm,
in that 18%, it says 70% of those people are of people of African descent
this
are
one,
below the poverty line.
yeah,
And to me, it's still the same rhetoric in every space that I've looked at. You
mm,
look at Guyana, you look at Grenada.
mm-hmm,
So when I speak to them, and because in college I had
yeah,
people that came from those places. I had a
mm,
guy from Jamaica, Kingston, and I will speak to him and all that. It's still the same. No potable
yeah.
drinking
It's the
water,
same
no
thing.
stuff. So it's all around.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Which is very, very, disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to bring the conversation back to we as Black people need to start taking responsibility for our actions, right? Because I'm looking at we've blamed a lot of systems so much. Oh, we don't have equal rights to certain things. Oh, in Africa we say we were colonized and all of that. But we've had independence for what? For
For a
about
long time.
65 years now, or
Yes.
even more. And we still don't have systems in place, right? It's the same thing here. Segregation and all of that happened decades ago. I know that it had an important role to play, but at the same time, we need to start taking accountability, right? We need to start being responsible for our actions. You see a lot of crime in the Black neighborhood,
Yeah.
right? You see a lot of people, lots of, there's no social amenities. We try to just play the system. Oh, I'm just going to enjoy SNAP benefits and that's
And
it.
that's
We
it.
need to
And
start
sell
taking
drugs
accountability.
and
Yeah.
kill. We talk about Black Lives Matters, but
Mhm.
Black people kill Black people.
Yeah,
So what are you
yeah.
going to say about that?
Mhm.
You have people. I mean, I watched the documentary where there's a guy in jail, and the guy was like, "Oh, you're never gonna get on a plane. You're gonna be stuck here, and the only way you're gonna get out is in a body bag and all of that." But the most disturbing thing that made my heart break was the fact that they asked him what did he do. So he said he murdered somebody, and the guy was like, "What for?" He said the guy owed him $20, $20, and he shot him in the head. And so for me, that is the reality of so many
Yeah.
people. And I'm like, no. So I agree with you. We need to take accountability as a people and say we need to fix ourselves. We need to. You talked about them not having access to information on scholarship. You have to do the work.
You
Go
have
and
to do
search
it. Yeah.
and stuff. When we were coming here, for me, when I did a lot of search to look for a cheap university, something I can afford, scholarship, we do graduate assistantship, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you need to put in the work too as well. Nobody's gonna hand you a free hot plate of food. You have to work for it. You have to, try to strive to make yourself better. So for me, they have to, because most of the time when I watch or I speak to people of Black Americans, you hear them say, I want to be a rapper, I want to be in the NFL or play basketball.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Sports, music.
Yeah. But how many people get
How many
there?
people can play in that field? How many of you want to be rappers that will sell 1 million copies? But if you look at it from the education side of things, or even from the technical side, nobody's saying you must go to college and get student loans and become, you can be a plumber.
Yeah.
You can be a guy fixing a cap, and you can make good money.
True. You can learn a skill.
You can be a
Digital
locksmith.
skills.
A locksmith, and you can charge $200 for just unlocking something.
Yeah.
So for me, there's a lot of stuff that you can do rather than just saying, "Oh, I want to just sell drugs," and usually it doesn't end well. So then you're in jail or they put you in the ground. So it's
Yeah.
So we need to take accountability, as
I think
people.
there's also like a fundamental. I haven't been able to place what it is. If it's like a, you know how these people get so aggravated easily, because why would somebody shoot somebody because of $20?
Bucks, like,
So a lot of times you would just be on the train and then maybe you slightly hit somebody, by mistake. You could get like the craziest reaction out of them.
Yes, I agree with you.
So sometimes I settle down and think about it. Is it like a a mental thing, or I haven't, like, I don't
I feel
even
like it's
know.
a whole lot. I told
Yeah.
Femi when I came, like at the airport,
Mm.
when I got down and I was just going to where to pick my bag, and I saw a guy there. He was just, I don't know, he was so aggressive and he was using
Yeah.
the F word, and simply because I think there was something about his bag.
Yeah.
I think he picked up one of the bags and someone approached him to say, "Hey, can you give me the tag to show that you're the owner of this
The
bag so
bag,
he
yeah.
can." And he took offense, like the guy was stereotyping him and saying, because the guy was a black guy, so he felt so and the guy that was asking was from I think I think he's from one of these Caribbean countries. He was
Yeah.
Hispanic. He's an Hispanic person, and guy was like, "You effing blah blah blah, you ICE is gonna come pick you up." he was this thing, and that was my friend. If I was a tourist or coming from, and me just landing at the airport,
seeing that,
doing that, I
Yeah,
would be really
they
this
have like some
you
level
know,
of aggression, which is, I mean,
aggression.
when we
Yeah.
first arrived this country, I was always informing my dad, please, you know how African parents can be wanting to, like, contribute to something, even if it's you're just walking on the street and you see something that you think isn't right, please keep it to yourself,
So,
because
yeah.
this is not like
Yeah.
Nigeria, where like
Yes.
everybody can talk to everybody and you feel like you can have an input. Please just keep it to yourself, because if you see aggression, they don't, you wouldn't even know when it's coming. So yeah.
I mean, I saw a lot of that when I stayed in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you see a lot of the black neighborhood. That's where it's always unsafe, things like that. And you're always wondering that we also need to have accountability, for certain things. Like we can't keep saying, "Oh, the system is against us all the time," right? There are certain things we also do that would make the system be against us. That's the truth. Like you can't keep killing people for minor things, and then the system will come for you, definitely. So
I don't think that they put that into consideration. That's why that's why I'm saying I think it's more like a mental thing, because you get locked up, like you don't
locked up,
escape.
your life changes. And the funny thing is that, take for instance, just by the grace of God, you get some form of what they call that stuff, where you serve a certain time, and
community
then
service, or
what, I've forgotten the word that they use. They'll tell you, with the possibility of parole, and you
Yeah.
get a
okay,
parole,
okay.
right? And you come out. Your record is so stained that a lot of things you can't even do. You can't join the military.
Yeah.
There's some jobs you apply for. They ask, "Are you a convicted border felon, whatever?"
Your life
Once you
changes,
take it changes. So it already limits a lot of things that you can. So why put yourself in that space? Why do you want to, And the guys that are into this are really young people, 14, 16. There's a guy that killed someone. I told you the other day, there's a guy that killed someone. And when they've investigated, they're like, "Why did you kill this person?" He said he was running on my turf. The turf means that he's 2 blocks away. It's a different gang. The other here is, so if I ever see any of you guys in my, I can kill you. Like it doesn't make
it would
sense.
bother people like us, because obviously the moral compass is quite different. Like Africans have this, we take morals very seriously, as much as we have our own many problems of system problems, things not working out, whatever. We do not play with morals, we do not play with values. And I think that's the difference. Here it's, you question it, like
you question
there's the reason why people even send their kids back home to go and complete their high school, just because they want to instill the morals that we have
values,
back home.
exactly, of respect for people, of how to
that's
talk.
more like what is missing here.
Yes, I agree with you, because a lot of African Americans, I don't feel like they have some form of moral compass, or is that what they call it? And if you ask a typical African American, what are your values in terms of respect, in terms of
they're not respecting nobody.
There's really nothing there,
respect.
But the only thing I know about African Americans that I really like is their level of confidence. There's this level of confidence that they have when they speak, and and all of that. And if you find the ones that are educated and all of that, you see the
it's always amazing.
Very sound, very intellect technocrats, if they put in the work. But I just feel like they can do a lot more in a country like this. They can just tap, and I've said it, you don't need to have a very fantastic life, but you can have a decent life. and the issue of, family, of the mother, both parents being around to raise a child and
Yeah,
all
they're
of
not
that.
family centered.
They are
like
not
we
family
Family cen-
centered
yeah.
again. There's no sense of community. When someone dies in the community, you see them come out, where community people shouldn't, kill people, blah, blah, blah. But that's where it ends.
Yeah.
There's no structure to bring people together to make them feel like it's a community.
Yeah.
When tragedy strikes, yes, I see that they come out and
Yeah.
say it, but it's not just about words. It's about, trying as much as possible to make it work. Probably having centers where people can come play games, could learn like, skills of plumbing skills. And all. Funny enough, with all those jobs that we think are menial jobs in Africa, you can feed your family and have a decent life with those jobs. You don't have to go to college and all of that,
Sure.
So, you have people that are software developers that will just go online and learn the
I mean, you
course
can
through
learn
YouTube.
digital skills.
And you can get a remote job or
Yeah.
whatever, So there's a lot of opportunities,
True. I agree.
Yeah.
And taking it back to Africa too, it's the same thing. We have to start taking responsibilities for our actions too. A lot of time people say, "Oh, it's the slave trade era, it's the colonialism." We have to move forward, right? We have to take responsibility for our actions. We talked about our leaders and things like that. We have to, if we want to see a change, then we have to stop the blaming, look inward and start fixing it. That's the only way out, because things will not change if we keep saying, like people were talking about the West still exploiting, and I mean it will keep happening, right? Because we allow it happen.
Yes.
There's no way somebody will come to your house and exploit you if somebody did not open the door.
Yes.
Right? So we have to take responsibility for our actions. People need to stop. Our leaders need to be visionary.
Yeah, but I know we've gone around this, right? And we've talked about how that is going to change. But from the conversations we've had, I don't think that we really understand. We know what needs to change. There has to be a total overhauling of, like, there has to be some form of cleanup that needs to be done. I think the problem is how that cleanup is going to happen. That's the thing for African countries. How are we going to have that cleanup is what nobody currently can define. Because when you say you want to do a revolution, how do you want to do
how's the revolution
how is it
going to
going to work?
It's going to happen.
So-
Like it would only happen when people have had enough. For now,
Do you think people will ever have
do you
enough?
think we will ever have? Because
see,
at
that's what I'm
this
saying.
point-
It's very convenient. Like if you push Nigerians to the wall, they will break it and keep going. Like that's what I'm saying. Like until they feel like they've had enough is when
I
that
wonder what that
revolution
enough
starts.
is.
That's what I'm saying. Like until they reach their breaking point, nothing might happen. To be honest.
We've talked a lot. We've touched different points. What do we think is the way forward to improving the global Black experience? Like, what do we think is the way forward?
For me, the way forward is a series of different things, and depending on where we're talking about. So, if I'm talking about Africa, the way forward for me definitely would be about a change of leadership. How that's going to happen, like I said, we don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of things need to change in the aspect of political awareness and reorientation. Education, for a fact, needs to change. Education needs to improve because if people are not enlightened and don't understand that their actions in terms of, say, voting, for instance, and what it entails, rather than you getting certain amount of money at the ballot box and you trade 4 years for poverty and all of that. If you don't understand the significance of that, that's a problem. So political awareness and some form of reorientation is very important. Secondly, I think that a lot of institutions in Africa are very weak. And so what do I mean by institutions? The bedrock of any society, like the justice system, like government, like the legislature and, the executive. We have to strengthen our institutions in a way that you cannot totally wipe out corruption, but in a way that they are very strong. And when something isn't right, they can, enforce the law. I'll give you an instance. In America, Donald Trump can say a lot of executive orders and all that, but they challenge it with the Supreme Court. Even though he has appointed some of them were his appointees, some of them still say no to some of the things that is what I mean by strengthening the institutions.
Yeah.
So we need to have that for us to, be able
I
to.
totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Talking about strengthening the institutions, the
Mhm.
people who are supposed to enforce the law should always obey the law. Talking about the
Exactly.
police, for example,
Mhm.
the Nigerian police force and things like that,
Mhm.
they are supposed to be law enforcement officers, right?
Mhm.
So it starts with, for me, I would say it starts with people like that,
Mhm.
right? Eradicating corruption from people who are supposed to enforce the law so that they can then enforce the law properly,
Yes.
right? You talked about education reforms. We really need educational reforms. Like there needs to be an overhaul of our educational system. Basically, if we increase literacy rate,
Mhm.
we will see a decline in certain things, like certain indicators of poverty and all of that.
Mhm.
With literacy rate increasing, you will see a decline in that. So those are things that we need to do. Speaking of in the West, the black experience in countries like America and other countries, we need to start building a community, right? It's not about me and my family. I just want to get out of the hood. No. How do I impact my community positively,
Yeah.
right? How do I impact the young people in my community positively?
Mhm.
So it's not just about, oh, I'm now successful, I can go out, live in better neighborhoods, and then you completely forget your people,
Yes.
right? You need to start inspiring and changing your own community positively.
Okay, but I wanted to add something to that. I know that I know your point where you say, oh, people should, when they probably make it as successful, they should try to help the community.
Yeah.
But there's also another school of thought that says that it's not really their responsibility to help. They've strived and they've made it and they've gone out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is that black people, there has to be a reorientation of black America, there has to be a reorientation of the need to be politically aware. And why do I say that? I feel like black people should participate more in
politics.
leadership
Yeah.
to run for office, for a councillor, or for some. You don't even need to go to the top. In your own space, try as much as possible to get the best brains in the community to run for office and occupy places where they have the power to make decisions to influence people in the black community. For me, the best chance of African Americans having a better life is to go through the government kind of setting. I feel like they can make a lot of impact from that route.
We've had a black president.
Yes, I know. But remember that the black president, Obama faced a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
I will tell you one thing for sure. You being the president of America doesn't mean you have the free will to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You have power, but I can tell you that it's you are in a confined space.
Yeah.
A lot of decisions that Trump makes is making it based on advice he's getting from cronies who run the system. They are the ones that sponsor this campaign. They are the ones that own big corporations that would if there's a policy, he speaks to them first before he, would sign an executive order or whatever. So back to what I was saying, I feel like it starts from black people the best brains trying to get into leadership positions, and from there trying to effect change in their own community.
Totally agree. It's just the same thing, like with what I was saying, going back to help the community. Doesn't necessarily, it could be just with, showing people how to do basic things like applying for college.
Yes. Or starting a small business, a plumbing stuff.
How to,
Yes.
Yeah, just making sure that it's not just you, but you're also helping young youths, for example. I know somebody in Cleveland then that he had this idea of replacing guns with laptops, right? Drop the gun, get a laptop, come learn a digital skill for free.
Yeah.
Things like that could help, help
grants,
take young people off the streets and things like that.
Which is good because in Kansas City, there's this stuff that they use to empower people. It's I've forgotten the name, but I went to one of their events, and what they do is that they get people that want to start something, entrepreneurs that want to start something. If it's craft that you're good at, if it's whatever, beads making, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So they assign you to a mentor for about 3 months, and the mentor will mentor you on how to start a business, how to register a business, stuff like that. And what they first have to identify that you have a talent, there's something that you can do. And so you they organize a day where they have people who are just donors, that people that are wealthy, but they come and sit down and they listen to your presentation. They will run, your mentor is going to help you. You run them about your ideas, what you want to do. And that it was fantastic when I went, because I saw a lot of brilliant ideas that people came up with, you know, and how they intend to scale it up, how they intend to manufacture it, what it's going to cost, what do I need. And funny enough, a lot of them got grants to be able to, you know, to start the business. I've not been able to follow up with those people to see where they are and all of that. But there's also some form of guidance till you can stand on your feet, and then they let you run your business. So those initiatives also work, you know, and all of that, you know. And I feel like we talked about, you know, changing leadership, strong institutions. It applies for people in the Caribbean, you know,
Everywhere.
Haiti and all of that. Haiti's institution is weak and they need to fix it and all of that. I know a lot of people say there's so much influence from other countries and all of that. And it's a challenge for a country like Haiti to be able to, you know, come out from the mess they are. But for me, this is rock bottom. And the only way they can go now is, you know, grow up and build and from what they have. So it's a good time for them to start all over, you know, when this is all over and all of that, you know, and build themselves. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
And you both have spoken about like you know, other countries, but for Africa, I would say like there just has to be an economic reform in the sense that a policeman, if you want him to enforce laws, if he's underpaid, he's not enforcing anything. He just wants to pull you over and then, you know, collect bribe from you.
Yeah.
So it's more like address people's, and that's also what they use during the election as well. Like address poverty first. I mean, you know, provide some form of economic reform where people are able to provide for themselves. People are not really struggling that much, and I feel like that is a part that they can start. Like if you're not able to use poverty as a weapon against
as a tool,
people, right? There are a lot of things that can change as well.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Speaking about police reform and, you know, paying them well, I remember one time Omole is it Sowore?
Yeah.
He was holding what do you call this? A protest.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He was holding a protest so police salaries can be increased, and police officers arrested him.
Of course.
That's crazy.
He was fighting for police officers so
And
they
that
could
is
have
still
better
poverty at
salary.
play.
And
Yes,
all of
that's
that.
still poverty at
And
play, because it's
That's still
government
poverty at
sent
play.
police officers to
course.
arrest him. Like, oh, the government controls everything, right?
Yeah.
They're controlling the police, and
yeah.
like somebody's literally fighting
For you
you
guys,
guys,
yes.
and you came arrested.
It's
And
more
all
of
of
what
that.
they can get
Yeah.
at that time
At that time, yeah.
than what, you know, than them seeing the bigger picture. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So that's how even elections too is what the bag of rice that they're going to
They
get
give
at that
you,
time, or
exactly.
the 10,000 naira that they're going to get at that time. So it's more like, just economic reforms. People's, like you said, people have to be more like educated as well.
Yes.
Education plays a big role as well.
Does,
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, there has to be awareness. They need to understand, like you said, they need to understand that if I put my thumb for this party, it means that this bag of rice I've collected is my
Next 4 years.
grant
4 years.
or whatever for the next 4 years. And that's
4 years.
that's a crazy way to
And
look
it's
at
not
it.
just 4 years, because I mean, we
Yeah,
see it
keeping
as
them
4
in-
years, but it affects the future.
Yeah.
Right?
It
What
affects,
happens
yeah.
in 4-8 years? However the president is staying, if it's for 4 years, if it's for 8 years, if he's
Yeah.
re-elected, it affects the next 20 years of the economy.
Yeah.
Right? Some
agree.
of the things that we are facing today is as a result of bad leadership
Yeah.
that happened.
Yes,
decades
and what
ago.
we're seeing is
Yeah.
the ripple
It's
effect
the
of
ripple
it.
effect
Yes,
and all
of
of
it.
that.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
you collect money or you collect a bag of rice to vote for a particular party, you're killing the country for the next 20, 30 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So they need to understand that the actions you're making today, there's a
Have
repercussion.
consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have to
consequences.
be futuristic in their
Yeah, in
thinking,
their
you know,
thinking.
and all of that. You
Yeah.
know, that's a very, very valid point.
All right, it's been an amazing conversation.
Yes.
I hope you like, share, follow, and subscribe.
And
You can
comment.
comment,
Yeah.
put your thoughts in the comment section. We would like to hear from you. We would like to keep the conversation going in the comment section.
It's been an amazing podcast. I mean, for the first podcast, I feel like it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and amazing, you know. Yeah, so see you guys on the next one. Bye.